What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to the official Hoopstocks channel. My name is Hoopstocks Micah, and today we're going to be talking about 5 tips you can employ right now to start investing in basketball cards. Let's get started. So my first tip is to invest in swing cards, especially if you're a beginner. Chances are, if you're new to the hobby, you're already priced out of cards that everybody wants. For example, your Lukas, your LeBrons, your Zions, and you kind of need to shift your priority over to the players and the cards that aren't being looked at right now but are still getting some playoff action. For example, these are cards and players whose prices might drastically go up or down based on the performance of a single or a handful of games. For example, with Bol Bol, we've already seen from one scrimmage game where he went off for 16 points, his Prism Raw jumped from around $3 up to the $30 level. Let's hop over to the desktop for a bit. So this is my tracker in Google Sheets. If you don't already have one, I highly recommend you build one out. It's a good way to keep track of your finances when it comes to how much you spend and how much you made on cards. So I've already filtered my sheet to show all of the swing cards that I have. I forgot to add some Michael Porter Jr. stuff here, some Jaren Jackson as well. But you can see that I've already quite diversified it a bit. So bought a bunch of Tyler Hero. I used to have a bunch of SGA before I sold them, so I bought SGA PSA 9 Prism at $50, 2 of them, sold them at $155, made around $55 in profit. I also have Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Damian Lillard, Jaylen Brown on here, and so once again, these are kind of guys that are getting playoff action, but they're still underlooked a lot by investors. Not a lot of people are picking up their cards, so the prices are staying a little bit cheap, and so if you're new, definitely take a look at these guys. So if I go to eBay, my initial thought here is to purchase cards in lots. So I got 9 Michael Porter Jr. Select cards for around $120. That's literally less than it's around $13 per card. So when you're buying these swing cards, you want to be looking to purchase them in lots. Increasing that multiplier for cheap cards so that when you do sell them, you can get a higher ROI. Okay, tip number 2 is to plan ahead. So maybe you're priced out of swing, maybe you're priced out of blue chips, maybe you just don't even want to deal with the playoffs and the risk associated. So you're looking ahead long term, right? So now you're looking at guys that aren't in the bubble. So for example, guys like Trae Young, Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. And a lot of these guys you can get for cheap right now. I think a ton of people aren't looking at them. And you want to be looking for short prints, cards in lower pops, so like silvers. With Kyrie cards, I'm picking up a bunch of T-Mall Selects, courtside reds that I got for around $10 per. Same thing with Trae. I'm picking up his PSA 9 Prism cards, his Mosaics. A lot of people think that Trae, being second in his class to Luka is especially undervalued. I think there's a lot of gap between Trae Young's PSA 10 Prism versus Luka's. Obviously, Luka's going for 1,000, Trae's only going for 380, and so a lot of people think that there's a lot of room in between for Trae's card to eventually catch up to Luka's, especially come next season. When Trae's going off for 40 every game, you never know what can happen to those cards. And in the off season, a lot of ideas come to people's minds about what players could potentially do, like how's Kyrie going to play with KD, et cetera, et cetera. And so you want to be planning ahead, planning for those scenarios where you might be seeing a lot of demand for those cards later on. So I talked a lot about the buy side tips. So for tip number 3, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about sell side. And so specifically, we're talking about dumping risk. And so what does that mean for me? Well, guys I've been holding for a little bit of time, so Zion, Luka, Ja, especially with the Prism and Optics, I'm starting to sell those now. Reason why is because I don't want to get into a scenario where I have to compete with all the other sellers, especially on eBay, that are holding, all 11,000 or how many so in the population of those cards. I'm trying to mitigate as much risk as I can while taking a safe profit. So if we go back to my tracker, you can see that I've already gotten rid of a bunch. So if I turn off the filter, turn on the filter again, and filter this to all my sold cards, you can see that I dumped Zion already. So I sold it at 380 for 2, so 190 per. made 180 off of that. Luka Doncic sold a select PSA 10 for $700, made around $200 off of that, bought it for $500 a week ago. So that was literally a sale I did in 1 week. Kawhi Leonard, I bought his hoops around 115 for the PSA 9, 65 the SGC 9. Sold the hoops for around 335. Sold the SGC 9 at 175. And so I literally, if you look at the ROI percent, over 2x for both of those cards. A lot of guys could argue that, why did you sell Kawhi now? Why did you sell Luka now? They haven't even played in the playoffs. Once again, I don't want to be in the position where I have to liquidate something that's, super high in market value and compete with a bunch of other sellers on eBay. I'd rather take the safe profits now and, not have to worry about it in the back of my mind. Same thing with Jason Tatum, right? I bought his Prism Raw at $120, sold 2 of them for $375, made $135 off of it. So it's all about being smart, making sure you're dumping risk and making sure you're taking profit ahead of the curve. Tip number 4. So for the less riskier cards, where we're talking about primarily those blue chips, so LeBron, Giannis, Kawhi in my mind, I'm holding them all, even Anthony Davis. You want to make sure you're really solidifying your positions. If you're still trying to get on the hype train for those cards, make sure you're buying now. And make sure you're looking at cards that could be undervalued. I'm talking about first year jersey cards. So, maybe it's a first year Lakers card that you want for LeBron that you want to hold. We're already seeing the Optic 2018 for that card and the Prism 2019. Shoot really high, especially in the last 60 days. If you look at the data, those cards are literally multiplying by 2x. Kawhi is one of those guys that hasn't caught on yet. So maybe it's his first year Clippers jersey card that you want to buy. I think that's the Optic 2019, or I think the Select 2019. I don't think those cards have caught on yet. So if you can afford an Optic Holo of those cards, make sure you're buying those. Last tip to number 5 is make sure you do your research and make sure you hedge your risky investments. What I mean by that is before you even buy a card, Gary Vee says you should do at least 40 hours of research. So what I mean by that is researching the card types, researching the population reports, seeing if there's demand for a card that you want. And once again, make sure you hedge that card, especially if it's a risky card. So if it means putting your money in a LeBron James, putting your money in a Giannis card, or one of those cards that are safe, that you see steady appreciation with, not just spikes like a Zion, then your portfolio will be a lot better, especially when you diversify it that way. So yeah, do your research. Make sure you're making safe purchases as well as those risky ones, and you'll be good to go. That's all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you like and sub below. Follow me on Instagram and feel free to DM me with any questions. Peace.